you can cringe, but like, don't cringe at me, please. We're friends. I'm trying to be friends with you, okay? Don't get the ick from me.
Yeah, this just pisses me off.
Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Kaylee. And this is Read, Rant, Review, where, you guessed it, I read books and I do rate reviews. I give you a beat by beat, chapter by chapter breakdown of a book that you guys voted for. This video, oh Lord, if you can't already tell, I'm so excited to tell you about it. We are going to be talking about Colleen Hoover's debut novel, Slammed. This book was published in 2012, and it is a teacher-student romance, like high school teacher and student romance. It is a mess. It's so crazy. And to be clear, off the bat, this is a Colleen Hoover hater account, like Colleen Hoover hater channel. So if you like her, I'll catch you in the next one. To the point of my dislike that I have created a Colleen Hoover bingo card derogatory, and one of my phenomenal subscribers, Kelly, went ahead and made a digital version of it that is linked in the description box below if you would like to play CoHo bingo. Some things that I expect to see in Colleen Hoover novels is stupid names, cancer, surprise pregnancy, the main male character saving the main female character, some type of like him harming her in some way, and a bunch of other stuff I can't remember off of the top of my head. So yeah, with that though, I give a beat by beat, chapter by chapter breakdown of a book. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. I'll give you the stats real quick about the book. I'll give you the book description and then a couple other disclaimers, and then we'll dive right into it. And yeah, have a little bit of a giggle over this crazy book. I have done a number of other Colleen Hoover books. If I have a playlist on my channel, if you'd like to see all of the other Colleen Hoovers that I have recorded. I am slowly but surely trying to get through her entire catalog, specifically her older material that is like less known and less talked about on YouTube. So, hey, if you're interested in continuing the dissection of Colleen Hoover's backlog, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill. In the same vein, I guess while I'm promoting, I have all of these episodes up on Spotify now, also linked in the description box below. Hi, future Kaylee here. I'm so excited, everybody. So I am about to hit 10K subscribers. I'm so grateful for all of you. As a celebration, I'm going to do a 10K Q&A video. So I have a link in the description box below also for a Google form where you can go on and like ask me anything, and then I'll go ahead and put a little video out in the next couple of weeks as just a little bonus episode to celebrate. And also, in addition to that, even more exciting, I have stickers for the channel now. They are, again, down below. I have my Shopify linked. I have 5 stickers made. They're made by the beautiful, talented, amazing Mariah. Also linked in the description box is her Etsy store. She designed these. Absolutely phenomenal. It was wonderful working with her. I'm so grateful. So we have Read, Rant, Review. We have one that says, "Oh my God, I hate it here," with little flames. This is a fan favorite of my coworkers. "I don't know what you want from me, bro." Also a fan favorite of my coworkers. And my personal favorite, "I love when abusers get abused." They're so cute. But yes, so these are for sale in my little Shopify thing down below. I'm selling them in packs or individually or like whatever. So it's available now. Yay! What a big moves on the channel this week, guys. Again, I'm so grateful for all of you. Okay, that's all. I'll let you get to the video now. Bye. Okay, so Slammed. Like I said, it was published in 2012, 354 pages, and currently on Goodreads, it is sitting at a 4.15 with 424,000 ratings. The book is, it's not funny. Following the unexpected death of her father, 18-year-old Laken, Layken, so we can just check that off on the bingo card here, is forced to be the rock for both her mother and her younger brother. Outwardly, she appears resilient and tenacious, but inwardly, she's losing hope. Enter Will Cooper, the attractive 21-year-old new neighbor with an intriguing passion for slam poetry and a unique sense of humor. Within days of their introduction, Will and Lakin form an intense emotional connection, leaving Lakin with a renewed sense of hope. Not long after the intense, heart-stopping first date, they are slammed to the core when a shocking revelation forces their new relationship to a sudden halt. Daily interactions become impossibly painful as they struggle to find a balance between the feelings that pull them together and the secret that keeps them apart. This is part of a trilogy somehow? I don't really know. I have not unpacked the other books. I have only read this one so far, and depending on how this one does and y'all's interest, we might read the rest of the trilogy. We'll see how it goes. In terms of disclaimers that I provide, the first one being, obviously this video will contain all of the spoilers. The second one being, this review is not for the author. It's not for Colleen. It's not for friends, fans, family stans, anything of the like. Like I said, it's a hater account, so don't come at me sideways. You know what you're getting into. And then lastly is a content or trigger warning, which Colleen Hoover historically has never, and I doubt will ever, if she continues to write new books, will ever include a trigger or content warning in her books. So what are we getting into? What do I think that you should know about before getting into this? As stated, it is a student-teacher romance. There is death of a parent, and then there's also a on-page essay. I'll gloss over it very briefly. Even in the book, it's pretty glossed over. But just heads up on that. That's always, I feel like, an important one that people should probably know about before you go and read a book. Now, if you're wondering, if you've seen my other reviews, I try to keep these lighthearted and fun and giggly and hee hee ha ha fun times. The reason, though, that off the bat I am giggling is because I'm nervous. We're going to learn a lot about each other today, and not in a hot, fun way, like when I read monster romance. This is me being very vulnerable about how cringe that I was in high school, and this is the most that I have ever related to a Colleen Hoover character that I feel like I'm putting myself on blast doing this review. So these are giggles of fear more than anything. Our book opens with the dedication to the Avett brothers. This book is dedicated to the Avett brothers for giving me the motivation to decide what to be and go be it. They are I don't know what you would consider them, kind of indie-ish type of music, right? We're talking twangy, we're talking emotional, which I love an emotional band, and I love a twangy guitar. I saw them live 2 years ago now. They opened for Turnpike Troubadours, which is a red dirt country band. Don't judge me. I'm from Texas, okay? Anyway, so I saw them open for them. And so when I saw the Avett brothers referenced so heavily in this book, not only is it dedicated to them, every single chapter opens with a song lyric from them. It is next level. And not only that, not only is there this reference, but Chuck Norris is referenced. Again, you have to remember this was written in 2012. He is referenced 12 times. And if you don't know who he is or how popular he was as a meme in the aughts, I can't begin to explain it to you because I will actually genuinely want to claw my eyeballs out. Just know that it was a very big meme thing at the time. And so to see it referenced so heavily was it was a lot. So anyway, our book opens in chapter 1 and we meet Lakin. Her little brother, who is named Kel, and then her mother are moving from Texas to Michigan. Lakin has just turned 18, and her little brother is 9 years old. And again, I know I'm just interrupting before I even get into this. I moved from Texas to North Dakota, and my sibling and I have a 7-year age gap. And so when I say I related to this character, I mean in the depths of my soul. There are things that Lakin goes through and talks about that I was wow, thank God I did not actually find this book when it came out in 2012 when I was 16, because I genuinely would have been a menace to society. This would have been all of the confirmation that teenage Kaylee ever needed for her edgy, depressed self. I did not need this book. So praise be that I'm finding this 13 years later. Anyway, so Lakin, Kel, and her mom, they're moving from Texas to Michigan after her father passed away unexpectedly. They're moving. There's not much of an explanation for why. They're just like packing up and moving to Michigan. She has no idea what's going on. She's a little pissy about it because she's going into her senior year and doesn't really have a choice. But we do get an explanation about Lakin's name. It is the combination of the names that her mother and her father wanted. Her mother wanted her to be named Layla. Her father wanted her to be named Kennedy because it doesn't matter which Kennedy. He just loved the name. And so they combined Lakin and Layla and Kennedy and became Lakin. Cool. We also learn that when she was little, her father would give her this little purple clip for her hair and said that it was magic. And so whenever she's like packing up the very last of her things, she finds this hair clip and she takes it with her because it's like the one piece of her father, this one little magical thing that she can hold on to. And it is very cute. And the couple of times that it gets brought up in this book, I'm not going to front. I cried like a little baby, okay? Don't judge me. Her mother's driving a car. She's driving the U-Haul. They pull up to the house in Michigan finally. And almost immediately, when the mother goes inside to do stuff, Lakin stays in the car, like scrolling on her phone and just like, you know, being a little depressed teenager about moving and thinking about life and all of these horrible things. And her little brother immediately befriends one of the neighbor kids, who's also a 6-year-old little boy. His name is Calder. Yes, Caulder. We have multiple crazy names in this book. No offense to any Lakins or Calders out in the world. So Calder and Kel are out playing in the front yard, and she's just watching them. And eventually, she goes over and plays along with them. They're playing some zombie stuff. And then this guy comes over. He's cute. Oh my goodness. He's a little bit older than she is. And it is Calder's older brother named Will. He introduces himself and immediately she is just like, okay, you know what? Actually, maybe moving to Michigan's not so bad. And especially thinks that when he says, I've got to get this little guy to school, he says as he swings his brother up and over his shoulders, there's a cold front coming through tonight. You should try to get as much unloaded today as you can. It's supposed to last a few days, so if you guys need help unloading this afternoon, let me know. We should be home around 4. Okay. So she is flattered by the gentlemanliness of this guy. And the next morning, she wakes up. It is cold outside. Again, especially going from Texas to Michigan, she has never seen snow before in her life, let alone ice, and so when she steps outside, she freezes her butt off. And so she has to throw on the slippers that are immediately by the front door, which just happen to be her little brother's Star Wars slippers. Throws those on, and she walks out to go to the truck to grab the coffee pot that they left in the back of the vehicle. Halfway down this driveway, she slips on ice, falls down, busts her shoulder, and in the middle of freaking out about the pain of it, none other than Will shows up and he says, "Oh my God, come with me, I'll take care of you," and rushes her into his house. They are in her driveway. Hello? I don't understand the logic here, but that's fine, I guess. Whatever we have to do to move a story freaking along here. So he takes her over to his house, pulls her shirt down so that he can fix her shoulder and throw a little Band-Aid on it. And again, she's just like, oh my God, he's just so sweet and he knows how to take care of me and he's just such a gentleman and he didn't make me feel embarrassed at all about me falling down. The bar is literally in hell. But she goes over there. She went over there because their first aid kit is still packed away, and so his is more convenient. I'm giving them a hard time, but there was some logic put forth. Anyway, so she's over there getting taken care of, and then he pours her some coffee. And he is like, "Oh, you have cream or sugar, or what do you want in it?" And she says, "No, I want it black." Which again is just, I was a menace when I was her age, the exact same way. I was a little hipster. I was the type of person, I was like, I'm not going to put anything in my body that changes who I am, which also meant obviously not doing drugs or drinking, but it also meant I didn't drink caffeine, absolutely refused, and I didn't take aspirin even, as far as I didn't take cold medicine or aspirin or anything for a couple years of my life because I was so anti putting anything in my body. It was really, really weird. And then when I did, it was this type of crap where it was oh no, I don't want that processed nonsense. I'm too cool for that. I'm not like other girls. Ugh. So this was horrific to relive these moments. But Anyway, so she drinks this black coffee. And as she goes to leave, right, she's drinking it. She's happy. It's delicious. She's like, oh my God, I'm so impressed by this little cutie guy. Goes back over to her house and he's saying goodbye. And he says, may the force be with you. He laughs and hops into his car as I stand there staring down at the Darth Vader house shoes that I'm sporting. Classic. What? So she goes inside, goes about her day, unpacking a little bit. And then her mom gives her a grocery list and she says, hey, obviously go to the grocery store. Will you go and pick this up for me? She says, okay, cool. Hops in the car, realizes she doesn't know where anything is. Like, she doesn't know where the grocery store is. And so when she sees Calder and her brother, right, the neighbor boy and her brother outside playing, she says, hey, do you know where the store is? He says, I'm 9 years old. Why would I know where the store is? She says, okay, well, thanks for nothing, like regarding the directions. And she says, what's your name anyway? Because she hasn't learned it yet. He smiles at me mischievously and yells, Darth Vader. He's laughing as he runs in the opposite direction of the car. Darth Vader. I realize the significance of his response. He's making a crack about the house shoes that I had on this morning. Not a big deal. The big deal is that Will must have been talking about me to him. I can't help but try to imagine the conversation between them and what Will thinks about me. If he even thinks about me. For some reason, I've been thinking about him more than I'm comfortable with. I keep wondering how old he is, what his major is, whether he's single. He put a Band-Aid on her arm. That is the extent of it. I'm not even like glossing over any conversations that they've had. That was the extent of it. Luckily for her, Will has come back from running his errands, sees her, and he's like, oh, I'll come with you, and just hops in her car. He just says, yeah, it's just easier if I just give you verbal directions, so I'll just come with you if you don't mind. Totally normal and stuff. They go. It's a little flirty banter. She ends up opening up a lot. They are on the drive, and he's, trying to make small talk with her. She reveals her love for the Avett Brothers, and she's like, my taste in music isn't so mainstream, though, so I doubt he even knows about them. He does. He's like, oh my God, that's my favorite band, too. And then she's like, oh my God, I'm actually madly in love with him. And then goes on to trauma dump about her father dying recently and about the move and all of these like dramatic things going on in her life and just like really just being so open and vulnerable with this stranger for this 20-minute drive to the grocery store. They get there and she comments and she's like, wow, this is like really far away. And he says, no, not really. It's literally 2 minutes away. He was just like giving her bad directions and making her drive extra far so that she would keep talking to him, which I think I'm supposed to find romantic, but I just find it creepy. She says, y'all, and then he makes fun of her for her accent, and it's like a whole thing, which I hate so much as somebody who says y'all and gets made fun of for it. And so she goes on to this like whole overly southern sweet thing whenever she's dropping him off and thanking him for the drive and everything. With my best Southern Belle impression, I place my hand across my chest and say, why, I never would have been able to find the store without your help. Thank you so much for your hospitality, kind sir. I sort of expect him to laugh, but he just stands there staring at me. What? I ask nervously. He takes a step toward me and softly cups my chin with his free hand. I'm shocked by my own reaction, the fact that I allow it. He studies my face for a few seconds as my heart races within my chest. I think he's about to kiss me. I attempt to calm my breathing as I stare up at him. He steps in even closer and removes his hand from my chin and places it on the back of my neck, leaning my head in toward him. His lips press gently against my forehead, lingering a few seconds before he releases his hand and steps back. You're so cute, he says. He reaches into the trunk and grabs 4 sacks with one hefty swoop. He walks toward the house and sets them outside of the door. I'm frozen, attempting to absorb the last 15 seconds of my life. Where did that come from? Why did I just stand there and let him do that? Despite my objections, I realize almost pathetically that I have just experienced the most passionate kiss that I have ever received from a guy, and it was on the freaking forehead. I hate it here. I hate it here so much. Anyway, they continue unpacking the car and talking, and he comes inside and meets her mom. Her mom's name is Julia, and they're chit-chatting, and we finally figure out how old he is. He is 21 years old, and she turns and heads inside, but purposefully nudges me with her shoulder as she passes. She doesn't speak a word, but I know what she's hinting at. She's giving me her approval. Okay. they end the day. He like helps finish unpacking groceries, and then he heads back over to his house. And beforehand, he says, "Hey, I was wondering if you had any plans tomorrow night." She says, "Are you really going to make me admit that I don't have a life here?" And he says, "Great, then I'll pick you up at 7:30. In chapter 2, she's in the midst of picking out what the heck she's going to wear for this date night, and she is freaking out about it a lot more than admittedly she should be. She understands that she's feeling a little much for a guy she just met, so I'm glad at least we have an iota of self-awareness. But as she's getting ready, her mom comes in and she says, "So, tell me about Will. Does he work? Is he in college? What's his major? Is he a serial killer?" She says with such sincerity. I walk the short distance from the bathroom to my bedroom and bend down to search through my shoes. She follows me and sits on the bed. "Honestly, Mom, I don't know anything about him. I didn't even know how old he was until he told you." "That's good," she says. "Good?" I glance back at her. How is not knowing anything about him good? I'm about to be alone with him for hours. He could be a serial killer. I grab my boots and walk over to the bed to slip them on. It'll give you plenty to talk about. That's what first dates are for. Good point, I said. Ugh. And so, this is the worst mom ever, in my opinion. I hate this so much. The mom does give some parting advice, though, and she says, "Hey, before you make any commitment to any man, I just need to give you some life advice." Lakin is like, "Girl, this is our first date. What are you talking about? There's not going to be any committing here." She says, "It doesn't matter, Lake, but I'm serious. If you can't answer yes to these 3 questions, don't even waste your time on a relationship." And the 3 questions, my friends, I know that you are so curious. What is the life advice that Colleen Hoover wanted us to part with, right? Because that's what this is the guise of. What does Colleen Hoover believe should be the 3 pillars of questions in relationships? The first is, does he treat you with respect at all times? The second is, if he is the exact person in 20 years from now that he is today, would you still want to marry him? And finally, does he inspire you to want to be a better person? These are all valid questions that literally no other main female character in any of her other books could say yes to about the main male characters. So this is where I'm like, oh, so you know what it means to actually like have a good partner, or to at least put some thought into having a good partner, and then you continue to write like the shittiest men that have ever shittied, you know what I mean? He picks her up. It's dramatic, it's cute, whatever, because she goes outside, and again, they're neighbors. They're like across the street from each other, neighbors. And she makes him back out of his driveway into her driveway to pick her up for the date, because she's like, "I'm not walking over there. You said that you would pick me up." He does. She gets in. On the drive over, they're in outside of Detroit, or they have to drive into Detroit or something. I don't know. They're going to this club, though. It's normally a club during the week, but they have these like slam poetry nights where it ends up being open up to like younger audiences. On the way over, though, he's like, "I don't like small talk. How about we play a game? I know something that we can play. It's called Would You Rather. Have you ever played before?" She says, "No, but I know I would rather you go first." Okay, he clears his throat and pauses for a few seconds. And goes on this whole thing. It's at least appropriate. It's like, would you rather spend the rest of your life with no arms, or would you rather spend the rest of your life with arms you couldn't control? Things like that. But between this moment here, and the fact that when they get to the club, they go to a booth, they're sitting down, they're vibing, they're waiting for people. He's kind of explaining what a slam poetry event is and how it'll happen through the night and kind of what to expect. He asks her if she wants a drink. She says, "Yeah, I'll take chocolate milk with ice, please. I'll take chocolate milk with ice." And I have tears in my eyes. Between that and not knowing the Would You Rather game, there's no alarm bells. There's no wee woo, underage. She's 18, so she's not underage, but you know what I'm saying. No concern there. I'm pretty sure the second that if I was on a date with somebody that they asked for chocolate milk, I think I would leave. I think I would say, "Ooh, actually, hey, can you whip out that driver's license real quick? I need to check something real fast." And that's as somebody, I love chocolate milk. I am a chocolate milk connoisseur. Don't get me wrong. But also with ice, what the frick are we doing, man? So anyway, it's the slam poetry thing. It's the most awkward cringe fest thing in the entire world. And again, I say this as somebody who loves poetry. I love spoken word. I don't have it in here. It's on my other bookshelf. I have like a whole collection. I grew up on, Rudy Francisco and Neil Hilborn and Sabrina Benheim and Olivia Gatewood and Sarah Kay. Who else am I thinking of? A whole bunch of other people that I can't think of off the top of my head. I can only see their faces. I love, 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 love spoken word and slam poetry and everything like that, okay? But reading it in written form in a book like this, I don't know if it's just bad writing, bad poetry, or if like reading it and not watching it be performed again, just like the whole time I'm reading this book, I had to keep putting it down. And I'm moving my body if you're not watching visually right now. The pent up energy that I would get reading this, I had to stop reading every like 5 pages because I was cringing so hard. I would read something and I was like, I need to go for a run. I have this like tensioned energy in my body that needs to get out right now because it is like so bad. Okay. I'm going to read you. It's not funny. This is horrible. This slam piece is so sad, okay? But I'm going to read all of these to you because what kind of reviewer would I be to pass judgment and not allow you to form your own opinion of these pieces, okay? So, sorry. Hey, also just trigger warning really quick before I get into reading this piece. It is about miscarriage. So like heads up, if you want to skip over this piece real quick, just skip, like, I'll put up a little image on here so you can just keep forwarding through it, okay? The poet, right? She goes up there. She raises her hand to the microphone, still staring down to the floor. She begins to tap her fingers against it in a repetitive motion, resonating the sound of a heartbeat. I realize I'm holding my own breath as she begins her piece. Bum, 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 bum. Do you hear that? Her voice lingering on the word hear. Sorry, I didn't realize that it was giving stage directions. I was listening to this, like the robot voice reading it to me. I didn't realize that we were getting directions. To be clear, the word here is italicized. You don't need to explain to me what italicized letters mean. Oh my God, that's actually so funny. Sorry. Do you hear that? That's the sound of my heart beating. Bum, 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 bum. Do you hear that? That's the sound of your heart beating. She begins to speak much faster and much louder than before. It was the first day of October. I was wearing my blue sweater. You know the one I bought at Dillard's, the one with the double knitted hem and holes in the ends of the sleeves that I could poke my thumbs through when it was cold, but I didn't feel like wearing gloves. I want to be clear that every fourth word is italicized. It was the same sweater you said made my eyes look like reflections of the stars on the ocean. You promised to love me forever that night, and boy, did you ever. It was the first day of December this time. I was wearing my blue sweater, you know, the one I bought at Dillard's, the one with the double knitted hem and the holes in the ends of the sleeves that I could poke my thumbs through when it was cold and I didn't feel like wearing gloves. It was the same sweater you said made my eyes look like reflections of the stars on the ocean. I told you I was 3 weeks late. You said it was fate. You promised to love me that night, and boy, did you ever. It was the first day of May. I was wearing my blue sweater, although this time the double-stitched hem was worn and the strength of each thread tested as they were pulled tight against my growing belly. You know the one. The same one I bought at Dillard's, the one with the holes in the ends of the sleeves that I could poke my thumbs through when it was cold, but I didn't feel like wearing gloves. It was the same sweater you said made my eyes look like reflections of the stars on the ocean. The same sweater you ripped off my body and when you shoved me to the floor, calling me a whore, telling me you didn't love me anymore. Bum, 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 bum. Did you hear that? That's the sound of my heart beating. Bum, 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 bum. Bum bum. Do you hear that? That's the sound of your heart beating. There's a long silence as she clasps her hands to her stomach, tears streaming down her face. Do you hear that? Of course you don't. That's the silence of my womb because you ripped off my sweater. Yeah, so out the gate, bro. Our first poem that we're getting shared in this book, man. Colleen Hoover sure does know how to open a book. She is blown away by this performance, blown away by this whole idea of something like this, of these people sharing these emotions, and she is just amazed. In the MC, as they go through all these other performers at the very end of the night, he says, okay, is there anyone final? Anyone want to come up here? And she begs Will to go up there and give a performance. He leans his head back against the booth. You're killing me, Lake. Like I said, I don't really have anything new. Do something old then, or do all of these people make you nervous? No, not all of them, just one of them. She's like, don't make me beg. And so finally he agrees to go up there. And the piece that he reads is called Death. Looking past the crowd and directly at me, the smile fades from his eyes as he begins his performance. Death, the only thing inevitable in life. People don't like to talk about death because it makes them sad. They don't want to imagine how life will go on without them. All the people they love will briefly grieve but continue to breathe. They don't want to imagine how life will go on without them. Their children will grow, get married, get old. They don't want to imagine how life will continue to go on without them. Their material things will be sold, their medical files stamped closed, their name becoming a memory to everyone they know. They don't want to imagine how life will go on without them. So instead of accepting it head on, they avoid the subject altogether, hoping and praying it will somehow pass them by. Forget about them, moving on to the next one in line. No, they don't want to imagine how life would go on without them. But death didn't forget. Instead, they were met head on by death disguised as an 18-wheeler behind a cloud of fog. No, death didn't forget about them. If only they had been prepared, accepted the inevitable, laid out their plans, understood that it wasn't just their lives at hand. I may have legally been considered an adult at the age of 19, but I still felt very much all of just 19, unprepared and overwhelmed, to suddenly have the entire life of a 7-year-old in my realm. Death, the only thing inevitable in life. It's not funny. This is tragic. Shut up. Stop laughing. Also, don't look at me that way, okay? What do you want me to do about it? I'm trying to give it the old college try, okay? I'm trying here. We're giving the benefit of the doubt. He performs this. She's like sobbing in the booth. And so when he comes back and she's like, Will, that was so beautiful. I can't believe you shared something like that. They end up just kissing a whole bunch. And then he says, patience, as he pulls away. And she's like, thank you so much for all of this. He takes her home. They have a little bit more like hand-holdy tension, little smoochies and whatnot. She comes inside and she sees her mom and she's like, Mom, I love Michigan. Chapter 3, it's Lakin's first day at high school. She's very, very nervous going into it. Being the new kid is never ever a fun feeling. Luckily for her, though, the first couple of days the first couple of classes go really, really smoothly. And in her history class, there's a girl named Eddie who befriends her instantly and is pretty much like, hey, we're BFFs now. You should change your lunch period so we can have it together. And blah, 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 blah. Like, we're buddies, which is so cool. I love people like that. In the description of Eddie, her hair swings forward with her. It falls just below her chin in an asymmetric style. Her nails are each painted a completely different color, and she has a variety of about 15 bracelets on each of her wrists that rattle and clank every time she moves. She has a small, simple outline of a black heart tattooed on the inside of her left wrist. In my note, I said, mine was named Lizzie, and she almost got us kidnapped at a state fair, but that's a story for another day. But literally to a T, one of the girls that I befriended in my sophomore year when I was a new kid was this exact type of person. Again, it's so weird. And so the day's going so great until in the hallway, she runs into Will and she's like, oh my God, hey, what are you doing here? Can you hold my backpack for a second? And she leans down to tie her shoe and stuff. And he is like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I have class. Can you tell me where this English class is? It's his English class. It's his English class. He's her teacher. His face is red and he has a pained look in his eyes as he bites his lower lip. He leans his head back and looks up at the ceiling, rubbing his palms on his face while he paces the length of the hallway between the lockers and the classroom door. With each step he takes, I catch a glimpse of his faculty badge as it sways back and forth from his neck. He flattens his palms against the locker, repeatedly tapping his forehead against the metal as I stand frozen, unable to speak. He slowly drops his hands and turns toward me. How did I not see this? You're still in high school? Which I would also like to know. You're a high school teacher in this small town, and his whole thing later on, and we'll get into it. He's like, "Well, I thought you were in college. Is there a college nearby? Is there a local university that you believed that she went to, or were you just being freaking stupid?" You're a literal teacher working with 18-year-olds and you didn't think to ask. That didn't come up in conversation. You guys went on this date and we got it pretty narrated or whatever. A lot of their date was really just watching people perform. In the drive, while going to the grocery store, walking around the grocery store, the drive home, the drive The like hour-long drive to the club, that didn't come up that didn't come up a single time. What do you do for work? What do you do in your free time? What are you studying in college? What do you want to be when you grow up? That shit never came up, not a singular time. My guy, I don't feel bad for you. This is the dumbest shit ever. And the whole thing, and this is where it's like, I don't know, have your own opinion, whatever. He's 21 years old because like he rushed through his program. Like he graduated like a year early or something. He was like really doubling up on college credits each semester and taking summer and winter classes and stuff so he could graduate early. And he's in his like semester of like student teaching, you know what I mean? Like he's kind of like in his like internship year. I don't know the technical words for teaching. You know what I'm saying though. He's in like the 1 year where he's like kind of on probation and doing like a learning curriculum thing for his college, and then he'll graduate and he'll become an actual teacher. So technically it's a student teacher romance, but also technically he was a senior when she would have been a freshman. So like they're really not that big of an age gap there. It's just for like, I think the taboo romance aspect of it. So it's one of those, yes, it's still problematic. Yes, it's still a student teacher thing. He should have known better. But also, at least we're not completely going down an even worse rabbit hole and having him be like 36 years old with an 18-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least this is like a little bit more tolerable or like palatable, which is like one thing to say, but also in the same breath, it's also like, hey man, if you're gonna, it's also kind of a cop out. I don't know. Anyway, it's stupid. I just want to comment that. Which also, not to make this about me, but this is my fucking channel, so screw off. The first guy that I ever like really crushed on was when I was a freshman in high school and he was a senior. Same exact age gap, my guy. You don't understand. And it was the same thing. He loved poetry. He loved the same obscure music as I did. And I thought he was so cool. And I just wanted to be so cool and good enough. And for him to think that I was cool enough to like be his girlfriend. And it never ever happened. Like we never ever dated. We never even kissed or anything. But it was always this like, he would always be this like tease of like, oh yeah, you should go to prom with me. And then asked another girl. Or it would be like, oh yeah, you know, we should hang out after school. And then he like bails on me to go and smoke pot with my neighbor. Or like, yeah, I think you're really cool. And then says some like crazy off the wall stuff where it's like give and take attention. Spent like my whole freaking freshman year obsessed over this guy, like trying to win his affections. Oh my God. You'll understand why this book was so painful for me to read now. It literally the same exact age gap, the same exact situations. Obviously without the student teacher dynamic, it was just in general of the I'm too old for you dynamic thing. Oh my God, bro. This was like exposure therapy. This was truly exposure therapy. Okay, so anyway, chapter 3 closes out with him saying this of like, how did I not know? Which is what I want to know. I too am asking myself the same question, my guy. How did you not know? And in chapter 4, he kind of tells her about this whole student teacher thing that I just explained to you. She goes into the classroom just feeling super awkward, like horrifically awkward. And some of the students are talking about like how cute she is. There's this one guy, his name is Javi, like Javier, which we'll talk about later. But he goes by Javi. He like kind of hits on her like almost off the bat. And of course, Will is immediately like, shut up, Javi, and gets all aggressive about it, which apparently is not what Will normally is. Like normally he's a super chill teacher. So immediately just bringing attention to a situation. Luckily, this is her like last class before lunch and then the last class of the day. And so she ends up after English just going into the bathroom and crying for the entirety of lunch and final period and bails on hanging out with Eddie because they're supposed to have lunch together and whatnot. Just cries her little eyeballs out for those 2 periods. Leaves school, goes home, and sits in her driveway. Before she knows it, a tap on the passenger window brings me back to reality. I don't want to acknowledge it. I don't want to see anyone, let alone speak to anyone. I look over and see someone standing there. The only thing visible is his torso. And faculty ID. I flipped the visor down and wipe mascara from my eyes. I divert my gaze out of the driver's side window and press the automatic unlock button. Will slides into the passenger seat, utter silence between them, and then eventually he says, "What are you thinking?" I'm confused as hell, Will. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think. I'm sorry. This is all my fault. It's nobody's fault. In order for there to be fault, there has to be some sort of conscious decision. You didn't know, Will. He sits up and turns to face me. The playful expression in his eyes that drew me to him is gone. That's just it, Lake. I should have known. I'm in an occupation that doesn't just require ethics inside the classroom. They apply to all aspects of my life. I wasn't aware because I wasn't doing my job. When you told me you were 18, I assumed you were in college. I've only been 18 for 2 weeks. And then he's like, oh, that actually didn't help me at all. That actually did not make me feel any better. And then he tells her about the whole student teaching thing and like the whole age gap, explaining the narrow age gap between the two of them. And he says, I need you to go to administration tomorrow and I want you to withdraw from my class. I don't think that we should be around each other anymore. She's like, why? He says, what we have isn't appropriate. We have to separate ourselves. Not appropriate. Separate ourselves. You live across the street from me, Will. So then he gets out of the car and then she's like, we're both mature enough to know what's appropriate. You're the only person I know here. Please don't ask me to act like I don't even know you. He says, come on, Lake, you're not being fair. I can't do this. We can't just be friends. This is the only choice that we have. What do you mean you can't just be friends? Y'all went on one date. Y'all kissed one time. What do you mean you can't just be friends? She storms inside. She's like, fine, it's all or nothing. Well, I guess it'll just be nothing then. Goes inside and cries herself to sleep all night. I don't know what you want from me, dude. She's a freaking teenager. In chapter 5, she gets up and she's just exhausted from the emotional turmoil of the day. She goes immediately to like the guidance counselor, like whoever the hell I guess is in charge of it, to get her course changed. After she does, she has to get a signature from Will to approve the course change. And when she takes it to him, he says, no, actually, I changed my mind. I think that we need to be around each other so that we can learn to navigate this appropriately. You should stay in my class now. Bro, the emotional whiplash and the wishy-washy bullcrap, it drives me crazy. But he's like, yeah, this will let us redefine our relationship. And then later that day, she meets Eddie's boyfriend. His name is Gavin. He's cool enough. He kind of comes up, like her and Eddie are kind of like reoccurring side characters. And he's also in the English class with them. And in this class, right, the one that Mr. Cooper teaches, he says, hey guys, so part of the class this year, we're going to work on writing poems. He's like, it's a requirement that you go to one of the slam poetry nights at the club. And if you perform one of your pieces at the club, then you don't have to take a final. Like you're excused and you'll just like pass the class pretty much. So they're like, okay, cool. Like this is like really crazy, unique thing for their English class. And so that entire day, the only thing that they have is to start drafting and pouring thoughts onto paper and getting some type of poetry thing going. And of course, he doesn't look at her the whole class and she just can't focus and she can't think of anything to write. And when she's at lunch that day, Eddie and Gavin are talking about who they're going to try and set her up with. And all she can think of is, I don't want anyone but Will. When she gets home that night, her mom is there and her mom is pissed. Her mom says, honey, is there anything that you need to tell me? Because she found out from Calder about his brother being a teacher. She found out that he's a teacher at her high school. And so Julia, when Will comes over, I think to pick up Calder or Julia like runs out across the driveway to confront him. And she's like, WTF, dude. And then they're like, oh yeah, we didn't even know she was in my class. Like we didn't even realize that. I didn't realize she was in high school until she showed up in my class. Julia says, she's in your fucking class? What are you talking? Like even more like freaking anger coming out of her. And he says, yeah, like I made a lot of assumptions. I thought she was older. She seemed older. Once she told me she was 18, I guess I assumed she was in college. It's only September and most students aren't 18 when they start their senior year. And so, whatever, they continue to have this confrontation back and forth. You know, they give their justification. Julia starts to simmer down a tiny bit and she's like, well, what the hell happens now? Well, Will replies, Lake and I are going to do our best to work through this one day at a time. She glares at him accusingly. Lake? You call her Lake? Will looks down at the floor and clears his throat, unable to meet her stare. My mother sighs and takes a seat next to Will on the sofa. Both of you need to accept the severity of the situation. I know my daughter, and my daughter likes you, Will, a lot. If you share even a fraction of those feelings, you will do whatever you can to distance yourself from her. That includes ditching the nicknames. This will jeopardize your career and her reputation. She stands up and walks to the front door, holding it open for me to follow her out. She isn't allowing us the opportunity for any private time. And I said, baby, it has been days. What do you mean? Julia's thing, she's like, okay, fine. I'm not going to tell the school. I'm not going to report this. Like, just you guys stay away from each other and figure it out. And I'll take the boys to school so that way you guys don't run into each other. Because I don't know why they would, like, running it, like, taking turns, taking the younger boys to school. I'm not sure how that would indicate Will and Lakin running into each other or like spending time together, but somehow it does. So Julia is going to be the one that takes the boys to school. I don't understand how the maths, and I just might be stupid. I don't know, but I was very confused about that, but it's fine. And so the next morning, Kel, right, her little brother, drags her outside to look at a snowman that he and Calder made. He's dragging her there, and Calder dragged Will over there as well to look at the snowman. They look at it and then they go and scamper off. And so then it's just Will and Lakin standing there together for the first time after all of these confrontations and whatnot. And it's just kind of awkward. And she apologizes. I'm sorry about yesterday, about my mom. I say as I stare at the ground between us, I can't look at him in the eye for 2 reasons. 1, the snow is still blinding me. And 2, it hurts when I look at him. So after lunch, she talks to her mom and she says, I'm sorry, Mom. I should have talked to you about this sooner. I was just really upset. And they have this like whole made up thing where she's like, I'm grateful for you, Mom. Thank you for caring about me. And the mom's like, it's okay, baby. You just have to be honest with me. I know you like him a lot. And then we go into chapter 6. We're already 32% of the way through the book, if you were curious. What has happened? I don't know. What happens in any of this? To be frank, nothing. To be totally transparent, not a damn thing. It is, yeah. There was a point at the 60% mark and I said, wow, have I really read 200 plus pages for this? I don't even know how it was that long. Nothing has happened. Does it feel like a lot has happened? Going into chapter 6, Lakin is still super, super depressed over this whole thing with Will and trying her hardest to make him regret his choices. So whenever they're in English class, Eddie and Gavin, right, they're trying to set her up with one of their friends. His name is Nick. Lakin has no interest in this guy, right? She wants to bang the teacher. Let's be honest about what's happening here. But the second that Will walks into the room, she's like, oh my God, yeah, I would totally love to go on a date with you, Nick. That sounds like so much fun. Like, while making full eye contact with Will. Oh my God, dude. The freaking petty teenage BS is crazy. Well, obviously, Nick is a little pissy about this and ignores her for the rest of class. And then after school that day, her car breaks down. And then, of course, Will is the one that finds her in the parking lot. And he's like, I think it's your alternator. She was like hitting the battery. And he's like, that's not going to help. It's the alternator. And I'm just, or alternator. Well, shut the fuck up. I don't care. I feel like that is what it always is, though. And every single one of these freaking books or, you know, cliche, ooh woo, girly pop needs saving from the guy. It's always the alternator. I don't even know what the hell it does. I do. That's a lie. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So he's like, yeah, I think it's this. And then before he can really do anything or talk to her, Nick comes up and he's like, hey, are you okay? I can give you a ride home. And so he does. And they go over to the elementary school and they pick up Kel and Calder. And then obviously he has Lakin in the car, takes them home and drops all of them off. They get out of the car and Nick says, hey, do you want to go on a date with me sometime? Like Eddie, Gavin, and I are, you know, we're going to get pizza pretty soon if you want to tag along or something. And she goes, oh, I know I was kind of leading you on earlier, but I need to ask my mom. She doesn't say the leading on thing aloud. She just says, I need to ask my mom for permission. And he leaves. And then when she goes inside, the little brothers are like, oh my God, are you and Nick gonna date? Because I saw you kissing Will and I thought you and Will were gonna date. And she's like, shut the fuck up. She's like, you didn't see anything. Don't you ever repeat any of that. She's just like so angry about it. And when Will comes over later that night to pick up Calder and take him home, they can't find the kids. She was up doing her homework. Will was off doing school stuff, whatever. Her mom is out doing God knows what. And so when Will finally comes over that evening, they can't find the kids. anywhere. They search both houses. They're starting to get a little freaky outy. And then eventually they find out that the kids had gone into the back seat of one of the cars and fallen asleep together, like playing some game or something, and just fell asleep. And so now it's just Will and Laken. And they go back into Laken's house because they're like, oh, I don't know. Let's go pass some time together. And of course, they end up flirting. She like wipes some shaving cream off of his cheek and like leaves her hand on his chest and, just flirty. And she says, Will, I really want to make this work between us. Like, I'll drop out of school. Like, I'll get my GED to make this work. Bro, the way I want to punch, again, the way I just need to run some fucking laps around my house or punch something. Luckily, he shuts it down real fast. And he's like, that's literally the dumbest idea I've ever heard. You're not doing that. But she's like, but Will, I'm willing to do anything to make this work between us. And then she like takes his shirt off and they start making out and they're like about to do more. And then all of a sudden he's like, no, we can't do this, Laken. And she's like, but I love you, Will. I'm willing to do anything. I'm falling in love with you. He says, no, you're not. Shut the F up, and puts his clothes back on. He's like, you can't fall in love with me, and also I can't prioritize you. You would never be first in my life because of Calder, and you wouldn't even be second in my life. You would be like third at best, and that's not a way to live. Because then she's like, okay, well, fine, I'll stay, but I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you till the end of the school year, and we can make this work. And then he goes on this whole thing of like, I can't even prioritize a relationship with you. Dude, it's so stupid. This is the dumbest. Whenever I read Colleen Hoover books or like a lot of these romance books and it's insta love, it irritates me. But this one is especially so because there is literally no reason for any of this. At least in the other books, I can kind of sort of maybe pretend a little bit of like trauma bonding. These people literally went to the grocery store together one time. Okay. That's fine. Anyway, so he says no, and then she gets embarrassed, and then he takes his brother, and they go away. And then when we go into chapter 7, Laken is reflecting on her father's death. Talk about a whiplash moment. But she's thinking about grief. According to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, there are 5 stages of grief a person passes through after the death of a loved one: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I took a psychology class during the last semester of my junior year when we lived in Texas. We were discussing stage 4 when the principal walked into the room, pale as a ghost, and like pulled her out of the class. She runs into her mom, and that's when she found out that her father passed away. And so she's thinking about these stages of grief. And she's like, I wonder, as I ignore Gavin's presence and focus on Will, do the 5 stages of grief only apply to the death of a loved one? Could it not also apply to the death of an aspect of your life? If it does, I'm definitely smack dab in the center of stage 2. Anger. She's ignoring Gavin because we cut to them being in the middle of English class and Gavin is performing a poetry piece about how much he loves Eddie. And then it is Laken's turn to perform a slam poem piece. And I will read it aloud to you because, again, what kind of bestie would I be if I didn't share the joy of these moments with you? My poem is called Mean. I face the front of the classroom and proudly recite my poem by heart. According to the thesaurus and according to me, there are over 30 different meanings and substitutions for the word mean. I quickly yell the following words. The entire class flinches, including Will: jackass, jerk, cruel, dickhead, unkind, harsh, wicked, hateful, heartless, vicious, unrelenting, tyrannical, malevolent, atrocious, bastard, barbarous, bitter, brutal, callous, degenerate, brutish, depraved, evil, fierce, hard, implacable, rancorous, pernicious, inhumane, monstrous, merciless, inexorable, and my personal favorite, asshole. So everybody's like, oh my God. And Javi, he says, man, who pissed you off? They get out of class. They go to lunch, and in the middle of lunch, they're like, oh yeah, on Thursday, we're going to go and get pizza. Like Eddie, her boyfriend, Gavin, Nick, and Laken, they're all going to go and get pizza together on Thursday, which is like super, super exciting. And in the middle of talking about these plans and enjoying lunch and whatnot, and just like in general, just kind of like vibing, Mr. Cooper, aka Will, approaches their lunch table and he says, "Lakin, come to my classroom." So she does. She scurries off, a little freaked out and kind of frustrated and kind of pissed off. "We need to talk," he says as he shuts the door behind us. "Now." I don't know if he's being Will right now. I don't understand the angle that he's coming at me from. I don't know whether to obey him or punch him. I don't walk very far into his room. I fold my arms across my chest and attempt to look annoyed. "Then talk," I say. "Damn it, Lake, I'm not your enemy. Stop hating me." Okay, he's being Will. I rush toward him and throw my hands up in the air in frustration. "Stop hating you? Make up your freaking mind, Will. Last night you told me to stop loving you, and now you're telling me to stop hating you? You tell me that you don't want me to wait for you, and then you act like an immature little boy when I agree to go out with Nick. You want me to act like I don't know you, and then you pull me out of the lunchroom in front of everyone. We've got this whole facade between us like we're different people all the time, and it is exhausting. I never know whether you're Will or Mr. Cooper, and I really don't know when I'm supposed to be Lakin or Lake. I'm tired of playing head games. I'm so tired." I throw myself into the seat I occupy during his class. He's hard to read as he stands motionless, expressionless. He slowly walks around me and takes a seat in the desk behind me. Ew, why would he do that? I continue facing forward when he leans forward over the desk, close enough to whisper. My body tenses, my chest tightens as he speaks. "I didn't think it would be this hard," he says. This is so stupid. So anyway, they have a little bit more of this confessional. She starts to cry. Eddie comes in with her backpack because she's like, "Hey, you left this in the, what the hell?" And sees them. And it's very, very obvious that Lakin was crying. And so Eddie is immediately suspicious. Lakin plays it off and she's like, "Don't worry about it. It's nothing." She leaves the classroom and then she's like, "He was just, like reprimanding me for cursing in the middle of class or something." Eddie is mad suspicious, but it's fine. They just whatever. She goes home that night. She picks up the boys from school. Everything's fine. Will's not home yet, so she just rushes into her house so she can avoid him. But when she gets inside, they're a little bit earlier than normal, and her mom is there. And her mom is on the phone with somebody and says, "No, I think it will go over better if I tell them alone." "Of course I will. I love you too, babe." She's signing off. I quietly tiptoe to my bedroom and slip inside. I shut the door behind me and slide to the floor. 7 months. It took her all of 7 months to move on. She can't be seeing someone else already, but her words on the phone couldn't have been more clear. I'm in stage 1 yet again. Denial. So she takes this phone call as her mother being in a relationship and takes that as wow, my mom is actually kind of a really horrible person in moving on from my father this quickly. And we'll revisit it in a couple of chapters, but this starts sowing the seeds between her and her mom of this discourse and distrust between the two of them. And the next day at school, she decides to skip English class. She doesn't want to deal with Will after just everything going on. Eddie decides to skip with her, just solidarity, you know what I mean? BFF status. So the two of them skip Will's class, Mr. Cooper's class, and they go and lay out in the courtyard and just talk about life. Eddie trauma dumps quite a bit, which I'll read just because it's kind of interesting, I guess. Because she trauma dumps, but then she also is calling Lakin out for lying to her about what she thinks is going on between her and Will. I think what was happening yesterday at lunch was more than just a slap on the wrist for inappropriate verbal usage. I don't know how much more, and honestly, it's none of my business. I just want you to know that you can talk to me if you need to. I'd never repeat anything. I don't have anyone besides Gavin to repeat stuff to. No one? Best friends? Siblings? I hope this changes the subject. "No, he's all I have," she says. "Well, technically, if you want to know the truth, I've had 17 sisters, 12 brothers, 6 moms, and 7 dads." I can't tell if she's making a joke, so I don't laugh in case she isn't. "Foster care," she says. "I'm on my 7th home in 9 years. "Oh, I'm sorry." I don't know what else to say. "Don't be. I've been with Joel for 4 of those 9 years. He's my foster dad. It works. I'm content. He gets his check." "Were any of your 29 siblings blood related?" She laughs. "Man, you pay attention. And no, I'm an only child, born to a mother with a yen for cheap crack and pricey babies." She can see I'm not following. "She tried to sell me. Don't worry, nobody wanted me, or she was just asking too much. When I was 9, she offered me to a lady in a Walmart parking lot. She gave her a sob story about how she couldn't take care of me and yada yada. Offered the lady a deal. $100 was my going rate. It wasn't the first time that she tried this right in front of me. I was getting bored with it, so I looked the lady right in the eye and I said, "You got a husband? I bet he's hot." My mother backhanded me for ruining the sale, left me in the parking lot. The lady took me to the police station and dropped me off. That's the last time I ever saw my mom. God, Eddie, that's unreal. Yeah, it is, but it's my real. Which is objectively, like, sad and really horrible and, like, whatever. But also, like, I feel like Colleen Hoover does this in all of her books where it's this completely random, horrific story and experience, which, while a lot of the time she brings up things that are valid and solid and I'm sure people have experienced and, like, whatever, the way it comes off in these books is just like trying to have some emotional gut punch or some like emotional reaction from her readers, and she doesn't know how to like pepper this information into a story naturally or in a way that is like actually effective. Instead, it is just incredibly jarring and like, I don't know what the hell the purpose of that is. You know what I mean? Like, that's always how I feel when I read her books. I'm obviously significantly more forgiving of it, given this is her debut novel, but also not forgiving at all because she maintains this exact type of presentation of backstories, especially for side characters, throughout the entirety of her catalog that I have read, where I'm just like, girl, again, I don't know where these editors are. I don't know like what kind of team she has. Obviously, it's not the right people though, because like no one is actually looking out. Sorry, I don't know. You can tell I'm getting mad. Because you can tell no one's like actually looking out for her and giving her genuine advice. Like no one is genuinely helping this woman. They're just like letting her write whatever and just like yes man, like yes men, you know what I mean? They continue to have this back and forth. She tells Eddie about how she lost her dad and how she thinks her mom has like a new boyfriend. And then this was an interesting thing. So if Eddie is something that you made up, what's your real name? I ask her before we part ways. She smiles, shrugs her shoulders. Right now, it's Eddie. Girl, what the hell is your name? And so I highlighted that passage because I was like, is this going to be relevant? Is she like secretly the bad guy? Did I accidentally pick up a thriller and like Eddie turns out to be like, you know, a serial killer or like her long lost sister? Is there going to be some weird plot twist and it's going to be like, oh my God, Eddie is like actually da 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 da. No, none of that happens. It's just some other horribly depressing fact about a young child who just doesn't want to get close to people, I guess. In chapter 8, is it considered an epitaph if it is like the opening? It's like an opening quote from the Avett brothers for chapter 8. 2,000 people highlighted this. I want to have friends that will let me be all alone when being alone is all I need. After the school day of skipping class with Eddie, she goes home and Kel tells her, he says, hey, mom's out. I don't know where she is exactly. I don't know what she's doing, but she told me to tell you to order pizza. So she does. She's going to order some pizza. And the whole time she's like, oh my God, I bet my mom's on a date right now. Like, I bet my mom is out, like, you know what I mean? Doing things with other men. This is absolutely crazy. Her mom gets home. She kind of semi-passive aggressively confronts her mom. And she's like, well, I don't have secrets. Like, just such teenage bullshit. The mom kind of calls her on it and she just plays it off and then everybody goes to sleep. They wake up the next morning. Apparently there was a power outage and so they all wake up late. For some godforsaken reason, she has to be the one that goes over to wake up Will and Calder as well, because when she gets up, she notices that their car is still there and school is about to start. And so she's like banging on their windows, wakes them up. She's like, Will, don't worry about it. I'll take Calder to school. I'll take the boys to school. You just get to your meeting that you have. So he does, right? And so she ends up missing her first period. He rushes off to go to God knows where. And then by the time in second period, her and Eddie have a class together. Eddie's like, oh my God, girl, you look rough, because she's not wearing any makeup and barely has her hair brushed or anything. So Eddie gives her some stuff. She like, you know, gets all prettied up. When they go to their next period into English class, you wouldn't know by looking at him that Will got ready in less than 3 minutes. His black pants are wrinkle free. His white shirt tucked in at the waist. His tie. Oh my God, his tie. I let out a laugh and he glances in my direction. He must not have noticed he put his tie on first this morning. frowning. It's barely visible underneath his white shirt. I tug at the collar of my shirt and point to him. He glances down and pats his chest where his tie should be. He laughs as he turns and faces the chalkboard and corrects his wardrobe malfunction. The other students were still taking their seats and chatting, but I know Eddie saw what just happened. I can feel her staring a hole into my back. Because Eddie realizes she came to school disheveled. He came to school disheveled. And then they're like having this little beep boop beep boop, eyeball, eye contact conversations and stuff, and like giggling at each other. And so Eddie, rightfully so, God bless, she's like, I don't like whatever this is actually. Like, y'all need to knock that shit off. However, I go back to the fact, and I'm still tripping over the fact, you're telling me this man has a tie on under his shirt, had it under his shirt for hours, had multiple classes, had multiple meetings, and just didn't feel it, never went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. I feel like you could feel the tie under your shirt touching your skin. What do you mean? And how do you even do that in the first place? Every single day of my life, I am working with men who wear ties and suits and whatnot. And like, I don't know how you would mess that up. Honest to God, I don't know how you would mess it up. That makes no sense to me at all. Like, it could have been his shirt was inside out. That would have made significantly more sense if she was like, oh my God, I watched Will as he wrote on the chalkboard and I saw the tag on the back of his shirt and I pointed it out to him. That would have made significantly more sense. Putting a tie on under your dress shirt? What do you mean? Physically, what do you mean? At lunch, they're talking about going on their little date thing later. Everything's cool. Later that night after school, Eddie, Gavin, Nick, and Lakin are all going to go to like the Club 9 thing to go and listen to slam poetry that night. And they're going to go on their date, and Eddie reveals like, hey, Nick knows. Lakin says, who? What do you mean? What does he know? And she's like, he knows that you're not interested, like romantically. Like, it's okay. Just, you guys are just going as friends tonight. You don't have to worry about anything. It's not going to be awkward. She's like, okay, thank God. They go that night. They're all heading over, hanging out. We got some like friendship building, whatever. And when they're going over to the club, right, we're driving, it's like an hour drive from wherever their neighborhood or little suburb town is to the club. And they're talking and they say, man, Vaughn really did a number on him. And they're talking about Will's ex. They dated their last 2 years of high school. They were a couple, homecoming queen and football star. Football? He played football? I'm shocked. This doesn't sound like Will. Yeah, star quarterback 3 years running, Nick says. We were freshmen when he was a senior. He was a nice guy, I guess. Can't say the same about Vaughn, Gavin says. Why? Was she a bitch? That's so aggressive. Honestly, she wasn't that bad in high school. It's what she did to him after they graduated, after his parents. What'd she do? She dumped him. 2 weeks after his parents were killed in a car wreck, he had a football scholarship but lost it when he had to move back home to take care of his little brother. Vaughn told everyone she wasn't marrying a college dropout with a kid, so that's it. He lost his parents, his girlfriend, and his scholarship, and became a guardian, all within the same 2-week time frame. I returned my gaze out the window. I don't want Eddie or the boys to see the tears welling in my eyes. This explains so much. It explains why he's scared to take everything away from me, like it was taken from him. I fade out of the conversation as we drive toward Detroit. Here, Eddie whispers, laying something in my lap, a tissue. I squeeze her hand to thank her, and then I wipe the tears from my eyes. Girl, if you don't shut the up. Okay, yeah, that's sad. Whatever, dude. I have such a hard time taking this seriously, and I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard to be unbiased, and I'm trying so hard to just give it to you straight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try not to be a hater. We're here for giggles. We're here for fun. We're here for, like, whatever. But, like,
God, this just pisses me off.
So in chapter 9, they get to Club 9, and Eddie, this is the most, like, miscongeniality bullshit that ever happens. They get to the club and Eddie's like, oh my God, come with me. And they go into the bathroom and she undoes the braid from her hair and puts on some makeup and like does her makeup for her. And like, she comes out of the bathroom looking like the most beautiful version of herself that she ever has been. And they get over to their like booth. Javi is there. Will is there. Obviously Nick and Gavin, and then Eddie. So it's like the whole group of them. They're like, oh my God, this is so cool. We're running into all these people. Javi and Nick are both looking at her and they're like, damn, girl. Like, You're beautiful. Will gets a little pissed off about Javi paying so much attention to her. Javi's like touching her leg under the table, so he forces them to swap seats. Eventually, he ends up leaving. And so then it's just Will. I think even Nick leaves. So it's literally just Will, Lakin, Gavin, and Eddie. So it's the four of them chilling at the table. And they just start talking. Because again, turns out he was a senior when they were freshmen, so they know each other. He has like a nickname because they used to pull pranks on each other, and they're all friends. And it's just this like super casual, friendly conversation of like reflecting on when he was in high school with them. And she's like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, we could really just be friends and hang out. And I love him so much, and we just get along so well, and the conversation flows so easily. This is so crazy. And she just like falls back in love with him that night. And Eddie ends up going up to the front that night to give a performance. Hold on. I'll come back. Okay, I have recovered. So, her slam poem that she shares with the world. What are you performing tonight, Eddie? The MC asks her. She leans into the microphone and says, Pink Balloon. As soon as the MC is off the stage, Eddie loses her smile and goes into her zone. My name is Olivia King. I am 5 years old. My mother bought me a balloon. I remember the day she walked through the front door with it. The curly, hot pink ribbon trickling down her arm, wrapped around her wrist. She was smiling at me as she untied the ribbon and wrapped it around my hand. Here, Livy, I bought this for you. She called me Livy. I was so happy. I'd never had a balloon before. I mean, I always saw balloons wrapped around other kids' wrists in the parking lot of Walmart, but I never dreamed that I would have my very own pink balloon. I just want to, again, I've said this before, I just want to reemphasize, the words that I am saying with emphasis, it's because they're italicized. The way I'm saying things is because of the way it is broken up in here. If you're visually, I'm showing you what this entry looks like. And they're italicized, okay? You can cringe, but like, don't cringe at me, please. We're friends. I'm trying to be friends with you, okay? Don't get the ick from me. I'd never had a balloon before. I mean, I always saw balloons wrapped around other kids' wrists in the parking lot of Walmart, but I never dreamed that I would have my very own pink balloon. I was so excited, so ecstatic, so thrilled. I couldn't believe my mother bought me something. She'd never bought me anything before. I played with it for hours. It was full of helium, and it danced and swayed and floated as I pulled it around from room to room with me, thinking of the places to take it, thinking of the places the balloon had never been before. I took it into the bathroom, the closet, the laundry room, the kitchen, the living room. I wanted my new best friend to see everything that I saw. I took it to my mother's bedroom, where I wasn't supposed to be, with my pink balloon. I covered my ears as she screamed at me, wiping the evidence off of her nose. She slapped me across the face and reminded me of how bad I was, how much I misbehaved, how much I never listened. She shoved me into the hallway and slammed the door, locking my pink balloon inside with her. I wanted him back. He was my best friend, not hers. The pink ribbon was still tied around my wrist, so I pulled and pulled, trying to get my new best friend away from her. And it popped. My name is Eddie. I am 17 years old. My birthday is next week. I'll be the big 1-8. My foster dad is buying me these boots I've been wanting. I'm sure my friends will take me out to eat. My boyfriend will buy me a gift, maybe even take me to a movie. I'll even get a nice little card from my foster care worker wishing me a happy 18th birthday, informing me that I've aged out of the system. I'll have a good time. I know I will. But there's one thing I know for sure. I better not get any shitty ass pink balloons. I hate it here, bro. I hate it here. This is so fucking dumb. Sorry. That was rude of me. She finishes this poem. Everybody applauds her. She comes back. They continue to have this like bonding moment where Lakin is realizing, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Eddie and Will and Gavin and I, this is amazing. And she ends up going home that night, and that's all she can think of is how much that they all get along. That night or the next day or whatever, Eddie texts her and invites her to go to the movies with her and Gavin. And so she's like, oh my God, yeah, totally, girl. And she goes to the bathroom to go and get ready. And for some like godforsaken reason that I don't really understand, she's in the bathroom and she sees a pile of bills and she goes through them and she finds the like bank statements and the mortgage statements of their house and obviously like her mom's bank account, and there's like $173,000 in the bank account. And so it's like they're not in financial straits. They could have afforded to stay in Texas. They had no reason to move to Michigan, right? And so Lakin is like, oh my God, my mom uprooted us and made us move here so she could be with this new man. Like, she made us move so she could be with this new partner. This is absolutely insane. She goes to leave to go get pizza. The mom confronts her. She's like, oh my God, where are you going? And she's like, it doesn't matter. Blah, 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 blah. Like teenage rage, right? And so in chapter 10, her mom is waiting for her to return from the movies. And so when she comes back, Lake absolutely berates her over this new relationship. She's like, I can't believe you would move on so quickly, that you would uproot us from like, ba 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 ba. I can't believe that you would do this. And the mom says, Lakin, I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have a partner. I have lung cancer and I am dying. And I don't know if it's in this chapter necessarily or if it's later. I don't really care. I'll tell you now. So the mom found out she had cancer like a year ago, before the dad even died. They knew that she had cancer. They did research on a bunch of doctors, and there was some in Michigan that were able to do like kind of like experimental treatments on it. And so they planned forever ago to move to Michigan to get treatment for the mom. But before the mom and dad could tell the kids about the plan and tell them about her diagnosis, the husband dies of a heart attack. And so the mom is like, oh my God, he died because of stress, because of my cancer. So now, not only is it this whole thing of like the kids are dealing with the loss of their father, I don't want to like dogpile onto this of like now we have to move, but also I feel like crap because I killed my husband, right? She like takes this really, really horrible, guilty, like mind, spiral blame thing of like my cancer stressed out my husband so badly that he had a heart attack. And so she refused to go to the doctor for like that entire period. So that like 6-month period after the husband died, she never went back to the doctor. She didn't tell the kids what's happening. And then all of a sudden whatever the hell it was that like broke her out of this like depression trance, they moved to Michigan to get treatment. Turns out she's like terminally ill now. It has spread so quickly and they didn't catch it or treat it fast enough. So now she is like, hey, Lakin, hey, I'm not trying to laugh. I don't laugh out of true laughter. I laugh out of like, I'm in trouble. Or what is I am in danger. That's me. I laugh out of stress, okay? So don't like be offended by it. But I was like, but that's what it is. The mom, oh my God. The mom is like, hey, Lakin, I'm not dating anybody. I'm like literally going to chemo treatments. I'm still working as a nurse, and if I'm not going to work, I'm going to chemo treatments, and that's why I sleep all the time. And no, I was on the phone with my friend who said that they're going to adopt Kel when I pass away, and the letters that you found in my drawer, because she was like snooping around one day, the letters that you found in my drawer, those were from your dad. That's not from a lover. I wasn't talking to anybody like that. It was just, I'm trying to prepare for my death. Lakin doesn't want to hear it, right? Lakin, in denial, in true like teenage fashion. Again, I don't necessarily blame her, and I don't necessarily blame the mom or the dad or anything for coping with these situations, because like, God dang, is that hard to deal with, right? And I also, again, like my relation to this character in this book, I come from a family that like sweeps stuff so deeply under the rug, it'll never be found again. You know what I mean? And so like, I totally understand this. This is 100% something that my family would do. This is a side tangent. When I grew up, anything bad that happened in my family, it would get brought up maybe one time of acknowledgement, out of like forced acknowledgement of like, yeah, so-and-so's going to the hospital, okay? Track and all. They'd be there for the day or two. When that person got out of the hospital, we would never talk about it again. What were they sick from? Are they better now? What's the family going to do to help them to make sure they don't go to the hospital again? What is anybody... Do we need to move to get better help for them? Are they dying? Has there been remedial action? No idea. Never talked about again, right? Just like into the fucking ether. So like a million, 100,000, bagillion, bajillion, bada billion understand this character, and it hurts me. Again, this was the exposure therapy, not just from some shitty guy, but also just like parenting decisions where I'm just like over here like this. If you're not watching visually, I'm rocking back and forth violently. This was me the whole time. Like this easily could have been my family. So anyway, the mom made this decision to not tell the kids. It finally opens up. Lakin, her response to this is like, I can't believe you. You're going to take my brother away from me? I'm 18 now. Like, I'll adopt Kel. I can't believe you're going to pawn him off on one of your friends. Like, you don't trust me to take care of him? Like, you don't want me to take care of your child? You don't trust me to raise him? He's my everything. He's my whole world. And the mom is like, I don't want you to take on the burden. Like, you are 18, you have college, you have so many things to worry about in this future ahead of you. Yeah, I don't want you to take on your brother because I want you to live your own life. This is not a good answer to Lakin. Lakin, out of frustration of everything going on and finding out her mom is like going to die soon, runs, sprints out of the house, sprints across the street to Will's doorstep, banging on the door, talking to Will, and he says, oh my God, Lakin, what's wrong? She like collapses in his arms, crying about her mother's prognosis. And he says, oh my God, baby girl. Sorry. Picks her up, carries her to his bed. Not sure how or why that's the correct decision, but he does. Takes her to his bed, lays her down, and he says, I imagine he like puts his fingers on her eyelids. Shh. Relax, babe. And then he goes downstairs because her mom is like banging on the front door. And he says, Julia, don't you worry about it. I'll take care of her. She needs to be here. She needs to stay here. My guy, the way I would kill a man. If I was Julia, the literal way I would burn a man's house down. Are you kidding me? Okay. She falls asleep in his bed. What do you want from me, dude? Speaking of like, what do you want from me, dude? We go into chapter 11 and it goes into part 2. And my note says, why? Like, why do we have a part 2? What is that even like? Well, why? And so in chapter 11, she wakes up in Will's bed. It's late. It's like late into the afternoon. She like slept through she slept for like 12 hours, right? She wakes up middle of the next day. She's like, oh my God, where am I? And then she's like, oh, I'm in Will's house. Oh my God, he's taking care of me. She gets up, whatever. And Will is like, hey, relax. You need to go and talk to your mom. I'll take the boys out to a matinee. So he like goes to a movie, goes to get like lunch or dinner or whatever with the boys and like give her some time to like talk to her mom. She's about to go and do that when she sees Eddie pull up. So Eddie pulls up to her house. Lakin comes out of Will's house and she says, Eddie, I'm over here. She comes over. She goes in the house and she says, whose house is this? What are you doing? Realizes that it's Will's house. And she says, hey, bestie, I support you and I love you so much, but like literally what in the ever-loving fuck is going on? So Lake tells her everything, tells her about her mother's condition, about how she met Will before school even started, how she's like, in love with him, but nothing has really happened between them. It's like a whole entire thing. And in chapter 12, Eddie says, hey, girlie, you need to talk to your mom. I'm trying to be so supportive of you right now. And I do, don't get me wrong, but like you need to go and talk to your mother. Drags her over there. This is the first time, like in chapter 12 is the first time that Eddie and Julia have met somehow for some reason. So they give some hugs or whatever, and then she like sprints away. she's like, I've done my job. You two need to talk. Like disappears into the sunset. And then Julia and Lakin have their conversation or whatever. And she's like, Mom, why didn't you tell me? I could have helped you. You didn't need to deal with this on your own. She rolls her back against the wall and faces me. I know that now. I was in denial. I was angry. I was hoping for a miracle, I guess. I don't know. The days turned into weeks and then months, and now we're here. I started chemotherapy again 3 weeks ago. And then I think it's this chapter or this portion or whatever where the mom talks about having Kel stay with like a family friend and her freaking out about it. My bad. I told it out of order. Who cares? You understand the point of it. When her mom tells her that like, hey, you don't need to take care of him. Like he needs to go to somebody else. You need to live your life. She just like sprints back over to Will's house. At this point in the book, I wanted to like rip my shirt and be like, oh, I hate it here. Mom, she's like, hey, I love you, babe. I love you so much. However, my son needs to go to somebody else. Like you can totally take care of him. Love that so much. Trust you so much. But like you need to live your best life. So she freaks out. She goes back over to Will's house. Her sobs fade as I slam the door to Will's house behind me. I run into his bedroom and I throw myself on the bed. I don't just cry. I sob, I wail, I scream. And then it's like a break thing in the paragraphs to like, indicate like a time jump or whatever. And she says, I've never used drugs before, if you don't count the sip of my mother's wine when I was 14. I've never even willingly had alcohol. It's not that I was too afraid or too straight-laced. Honestly, I just never been offered anything. I never went to parties in Texas. I never spent the night with anyone who ever tried to coerce me into doing something illegal. I have, frankly, just never been in a situation where I could succumb to peer pressure. I spent my Friday nights at football games. Saturday nights, my dad usually took us out to a movie and dinner, and Sunday I did homework. That was my life. She goes on to talk about some other crazy time where she like almost did drugs. What's the point of that? I don't know. Maybe some like relatability factor. Possibly, potentially, I don't know. And then this is more relatable to me. So beyond those like 4 paragraphs, there's another like break thing. And she is talking about how she spirals to the point where like the boys are still out at their matinee, which leads me back to the fact of like, how much time has passed? She talked to Eddie, she talked to her mom, she took a nap, they hung out, they did some other stuff, she came back, she took another nap. What the hell are these boys doing? When they come home, she has like re-alphabetized, or I guess alphabetized, his entire bookcase, his entire vinyl and CD collection, every DVD he has in his home. She's like actively now going through all of his like recipes and organizing all of those. Very indicative. And this is the part that irritates me so badly. It is so indicative of this panicked coping mechanism. I don't know the correct words. I'm just this like ignorant, mentally ill woman who has gone through these, where like sometimes you go through something so traumatic that like you wake up 4 days later to your house painted entirely different colors. Everything is organized. You know what I mean? To like the umpteenth degree. And you find yourself just like repetitively organizing things and cleaning things and color coordinating closets, organizing and reorganizing anything that you can get a hand on to find some semblance of comfort and peace. And so to see that depicted in this book, I was like, oh my God, I feel so seen. This is another one of those moments where I'm like, oh my God, Colleen Hoover is actually making a valid character development, character trait thing. Somebody who has been in that position identifies with heavily, where you're like, wow, this is a misplaced coping mechanism with stress and bad things that is very, very relatable for a lot of people. And like, oh my God. And then it gets immediately shit on and ruined. What are you doing? Calder asks. Alphabetizing, I reply. Alphabetizing what? Will says. Everything. First I did the movies, then the CDs, Calder, I did the books in your room. I did a few of your games, but some of those started with the numbers, so I put the numbers first and then the titles. I point to the piles in front of me. These are recipes. I found them on top of the fridge. I'm alphabetizing them by category first, like beef, lamb, pork, poultry, and then behind the categories, I'm alphabetizing them by, guys, go to Kells. Let Julia know you're back, Will says as he continues to watch me. And so then he comes over, he looks at what she's doing, picks up the stack, throws it. She says, "What the hell?" I scream. I'm suddenly drenched in water. So he comes over and starts just like dousing her in water, like cold water from the tap. I look up and Will is standing over me with an empty pitcher in his hand and an angry look in his face. I lunge forward and start punching at his legs. He backs away when I start hitting him, trying to get off the floor. Why the hell did he just do that? I'm gonna punch him in the face. I stand up and try to hit him, but he steps aside and grabs my arms and twists them behind my back. I flail my other arm at him and he pushes me toward the hallway and into the bathroom. Before I know it, his arms are around me and he lifts me up. He pulls the shower curtain behind and shoves me in. I try to punch him, but his arms are longer than mine. He holds me against the wall with one arm and turns the faucet on with the other. A stream of ice cold water splashes me in the face and I gasp. And so he says, like later on after all of this, he's like, "I'm so sorry. Like you were losing it." And then she hugs him and she's like, "It's okay. I kind of sort of had a bad day." She takes a shower. Her and Will end up like falling asleep on the floor together in the living room. Eddie comes back over. The door was left open. So she comes in. She's talking to Lakin. She leaves. Will was awake the whole time listening. And he's like, "Why was Eddie even here? Why does she know where I live? Why does she know that you're here? Like, you need to go home," and kicks her out of the house. After everything, after all of these emotional things, everything she just revealed, everything she's going through, he gets whatever enough after like bonding with her and falling asleep with her on the floor, tangled together. He yet again has this like the cold water rush over him. And he says, "You need to go home." Chapter 13. We're back at school. It's another day. Will is late to their English class for some reason. And he comes in, grumpy AF, and he hands out a bunch of poems. And he says, "Hey, class, I'm giving you a poem that one of your classmates has submitted over the last semester. Score it." They're like, "Well, how do we score it? Like, what's the criteria? Like, this doesn't seem appropriate." Like, Lakin speaks up about it, and he says, "Shh." "I don't care what you have to say. Give it a score." They all do. They turn it in. They pass it forward. He has it in front of him. And he pulls the most like Dead Poet Society nonsense, which is like my favorite movie ever, by the way. He goes up here. He has all these in front of him. And he says, "Poetry isn't about a score. You can't give a grade to what comes from the soul." And like rips the stack of paper in front of all of the students and throws it in the trash. And he's like, "Poetry's about what you feel. Nobody can tell you what's right or wrong." Guess all of this is like a day later than the previous one. Like this is, again, I can't make this clear enough to you. This is all over the course of like a week, 2 weeks. So today is the day after Eddie and Lakin skipped English class to like sit in the courtyard. I thought it was like a month. What do you mean it's been a day? So Will, he's like, "Eddie, Lakin, stay after class," and then gives them detention for skipping his class the day before. And so they're like, "Oh, okay, I guess." They go to detention and Will opens up and yet again, the worst like trauma dumpy, absolutely horrible writing thing that I have ever heard in my entire life, and goes into this whole thing about like, sorry, it's not funny. This was horrible. He goes into this whole thing though, and he's like, "Eddie, this is serious. You can't tell anybody about what's happening between me and Lakin. And Lakin, you can't tell anybody what's happening between us because if you ruin this, I can't provide for Calder, and Calder gets taken away from me. And Calder was in the car when our parents died. They were in a car accident. I think he was driving. I don't care. I think he was driving, or he showed up. I don't know, what the fuck ever. His parents died. Calder saw it. Eddie had to comfort his brother, took him in, whatever. So he's like, I've sacrificed everything, right? He gave up the football scholarship, the girlfriend, lost his parents, dropped out of school, whatever. He's like, I've given up everything to support that 9-year-old boy. And like, if you F up any of this for me, like, you're a horrible person. Just snaps on these poor young women in the middle of this like detention thing. So Eddie and Lakin are like, okay, sorry, I guess, yes, chef, heard, chef, and like press on. And they go to leave, or I think he storms out of the classroom, and then Eddie and her are standing there, and Eddie says, God, Lakin, how do you do it? She says. She blows out her nose and grabs another tissue out of the box. How do I do what? I sniff as I continue to wipe the tears from my eyes. How do you not fall in love with him? The tears begin flowing just as quickly as they had ceased. I grab yet another tissue. I don't not fall in love with him. I don't not fall in love with him a lot. Chapter 14. She comes home that night and finds her mom, Kel, and Calder carving pumpkins, and she joins in, and the mom makes like some type of insinuation of like, hey, like, we need to talk about things. And instead she says, Mom, I just want to carve pumpkins, okay? I don't want to deal with any of this. And the term carve pumpkins or carving pumpkins is used 16 times from chapter 14 onward, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we are 68% of the way through the book. So constantly, my friend, this terminology is used as a scapegoat of, or not a scapegoat necessarily, euphemism of, I don't want to talk about the serious things with you. I just want to press on and live life. Like, Mom, let's just carve pumpkins tonight. I don't want to talk about your cancer diagnosis, etc., etc. And so that's what they do in chapter 14. They just say, okay, we'll just act like nothing's happening. Will comes over. He carves pumpkins with them. Julia makes a couple jokes, they eat some pizza, and they just live this really happy-go-lucky, everything is good, nothing is wrong type of life. In chapter 15, it's the very next day at school, and Will, during English class, Mr. Cooper, sets up the projector, and he puts up his poem that he read earlier in the book called Death, about his parents dying, and like, people don't accept death until it's upon them or whatever. You heard me say it. Don't make me say it again. Please, for the love of God, don't make me say it again to you. He reads it aloud to the class, stanza by stanza, while looking Lakin in the eyeballs, very clearly expressing to her of like, death is hard for people to accept, and you have to forgive your mom and work with her through this because nobody's ever prepared for death. And it's this very deep emotional bonding type of moment. And so everybody leaves. She stays back after class and she says, Will, I know what you were saying. I understand. And then she goes home, sits on her mother's bedside, strokes her hair, and some hair comes out in her hand. And then she takes her mom's hair that came out. She gets some hair in her hand, takes it to her room, and puts it in the purple hair clip from her father. And like wishes that her mom gets better. Okay, hey, I'm not gonna lie. Even just recounting that to you right now makes me want to cry. She said, Jesus Christ. As stupid as this book is, there are these moments like that is like genuinely such good writing, right? Horrible relationships, everything else set aside. She comes home from school that day with this like renowned appreciation of her mother, and like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but there's these like quotes of like, yeah, your parents are living life for the first time too. Like, they don't know what they're doing either. Kind of, there's some leeway, I guess, that like you need to have, or like you can't just expect them to know exactly what to do all the time. Like it's their first time in life as well, which is so sad. And so she's like comforting her mother, and her mom's chemo-ridden hair falls out in her hand, and she clips it in her dead father's clip to like pray and hope for the magic of the clip to heal her mother. You've got to be kidding me. That is the saddest thing I have like ever heard, dude. That's how chapter 15 ends. So we cut to chapter 16, and they're like, okay, we need to tell Kel like everything that's going on. And so they make Bazogna It was referenced earlier in the book. That is like how he goofily pronounces lasagna, which is, again, such a cute detail. Lakin and Julia, Lakin and her mother, they're like, okay, we're going to make bazagna, and we're going to tell Kel everything that's going on. So they do. They make it. He comes home from school and he says, oh no, what's happening? And they're like, oh my God, why do you think something's happening? And he's like, you guys only ever make bazagna, whenever something bad is happening. When Dad died, when we had to move, etc., etc. He's like, okay, what's going on? Like, cut to the chase. They're like, okay, well, Mom's dying now. It's not funny. Lakin, she's like, okay, I'm gonna adopt you. Everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna stay here. It's all good, right? So they go through all of this. An hour later, we have a huge spread of bazagna, breadsticks, and salad. There's no way we're eating all of this. Kel, why don't you go over and see if Calder and Will have eaten yet? My mother says, as she eyes the food with me. Kel darts out the door. She sets 2 more plates at the table while I fill the drinks with tea. We need to talk about Will helping out with Kel. Will? Why? Because I want to take you to your treatments from now on. It's too much for Brenda. I can miss a day of school every now and then, or we can go when I get out. In true 9-year-old fashion, Calder and Will come over, and Kel says to Calder, my mom's dying, Calder. Will glances at me and I give him a half smile, letting him know we talked. When she dies, I'm gonna live with Lakin, just like you live with Will. It'll be like we're the same. All of our parents will be dead and we'll live with our brother and sister. Cool. That's crazy, Calder says. Calder, Will yells. It's fine, Will. My mom says, it's kind of crazy if you think about it from the perspective of a 9-year-old. I think the only other thing that happens in this chapter is like, it's Eddie's birthday and they all go to Club 9. They all get instructed to carry pink balloons. Everybody goes outside and each of the pink balloons has a name of her foster siblings or foster parent, and then her most recent foster dad, Joel. He has one that says Dad. So everybody approaches her and they're like, here you go, Eddie. Let go of the past. You're so grown. Like, let go of the foster system, XYZ. So she takes, like the 29 siblings and the parents and the whatever, takes all of it, lets them all go. And then Joel says, here you go, Eddie. I want to be your father. Even though you're out of the foster system and XYZ, like, I hope you choose me to continue to be your father. And then, everybody cries. Yay. In chapter 17, Lake is coping with everything that is going on with her life, and she goes to another slam poetry event at Club 9. When she walks in, Will is performing. Sorry, Okay, I'm trying so hard to keep this serious. Will is standing in front of the microphone on the stage performing a piece as the sacrifice. The sacrifice is like the first person to perform for the night. It's like a random draw from a hat to get the judging scores in sync and then to get everybody just kind of going. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the first person of the night. Somebody has to do it. So they pick the sacrificial person. Will is that person tonight as she walks in. And he is performing the following piece. I used to love the ocean. Everything about her coral reefs, her white caps, her roaring waves, the way the rocks lap, her private legends, her mermaid tales, treasures lost and treasures held, and all of her fish in the sea. Yes, I used to love the ocean, everything about her. The way she would sing me to sleep as I lay in my bed, then wake me with a force that I soon came to dread. Her fables, her lies, her misleading eyes, I'd drain her dry if I cared enough to. I used to love the ocean, everything about her coral reefs, her white caps, her roaring waves, the rocks they lap, her private legends and mermaid tales, treasures lost and treasures held, and all of her fish in the sea. Well, if you've ever tried navigating your sailboat through her stormy seas, you would realize that her white caps are your enemies. If you've ever tried swimming ashore when your leg gets a cramp and you just had a huge meal of In-N-Out burgers that's weighing you down, and her roaring waves are knocking the wind out of you, filling your lungs with water as you flail your arms, trying to get someone's attention, but your friends just wave back at you. And if you've ever grown up with dreams in your head about life and how and how one of these days you would pirate your own ship and have your own crew and all of the mermaids would only love you, well, you would realize, as I eventually realized, that all the good things about her, all the beautiful, it's not real, it's fake. So keep your ocean, I'll take the lake. Hey, it would work on me, I'm not gonna lie. If I was 18, sitting in a club, and a guy rhymed Kaylee with something to this effect, bro, I would fold. I would like to pretend I'm better than that. I think we all would, but I'm not. I'll be honest with you. She hears this and she goes, "Oh my God, I have to get out of here. I don't want him to know I'm here." She runs out of the club and she runs into her classmate Javi, right? Or like Javier, runs into him in the parking lot. She's going to her car, and as she's going there, she's like, "Oh my God, I left my purse in the club." And so she's like, "Can I borrow your phone?" He says, "Oh my God, my phone's not charged. Let's go to my truck. I'll turn it on, charge my phone, and then you can text your friend to bring out your purse." Because she is so anti going back into the club to grab her purse that she's like willing to jump through these hoops or whatever. And so with that, she goes over. Javi goes into his truck, plugs in his phone, turns around, and then he's like, "I know you're just here to make out with me. I know you're just lying about like needing your purse." Pins her against his truck and like starts to make out with her against her will. And this is the like SA scene that I was referencing earlier. All of a sudden, Will appears. He's like, "Lay off, bro." They get into a fist fight. Will punches Javi. Javi starts to punch Will. Homegirl dives between them. Javi ends up punching her in the back, like trying to punch Will and just like misses or gets distracted or whatever. She falls to the ground, breath knocked out of her, freaking the frick out. Will picks her up and he's like, "Oh my God, babe, it's gonna be okay." Takes her home. Deals with the aftermath. Everything's gonna be okay. Everybody's okay. The next day at school, she goes to English class. There's a substitute. She gets called by the principal, or she gets called to the principal's office. She shows up. It's Will, Javi's dad, the principal, obviously, and like a police officer. They're like, "Lagan, tell us what happened." So she does. Will did not realize that she was like non-consenting to Javi's moves or whatever. He just saw somebody making out with her and decided to take his anger out. But she obviously took this as like a savior thing of like, "Oh my God, he protected me." And that's what she told the police. But like, homeboy over here, Will, he's like, "Yeah, I just thought he was kissing you. Like, I thought you were into it. And like, I was just a jealous piece of shit." But he gets away with it. Everything's fine. Ultimately, everybody's going to drop the charges against everyone. She goes home that day. Will is in his car, or like his car is in the driveway. So she's like, "Oh my God, I need to talk to him." She rushes to his house, bangs on the door, talks to him. And he is going to move to a middle school, like in the district. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just going to go and teach at this middle school." She's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they fired you. You didn't do anything wrong." He says, "No, I volunteered. I'm just going to finish my like student apprenticeship, like training thing at a school in the city. It's fine. It's going to be like an hour drive every single morning, but it's cool. It's better for everybody if I leave the situation. And there's really nothing else that like Lakin or anybody can say about it. So she collects herself and she goes home. After asking, oh my God, does this change us? Does this change what's between us? If you're gonna teach at another school, does that mean we can be together? He says, no. And she says, oh, okay. And presses on, right? So she goes on. So chapter 19, Will and Calder, they go and visit their family. Everything's cool. Calder and Kel, right, the little brothers, they have Halloween week at school. And what they want to be for Halloween are cancerous lungs. Yes, you heard that correctly. So they run it by Julie. Julie's cool with it. So they're like, okay, cool. They run to Walmart. They buy like whatever the hell you need to make a cancerous lung. They make these horrific costumes that all of them are disgusted by, but also like, I don't know, at what point are we like entertaining the coping mechanisms of 9-year-old boys? At what point are we just accepting morbid humor? Like, there's some legitimate things here, right, that I totally understand. And so they go about this. They go to school in these costumes. Lakin goes to school. She gets a bunch of phone calls from him. She eventually answers, and he's like, you have to go to the elementary school. She and Eddie show up. Turns out the principal's like, oh my God, do you see these outfits? These two boys, they're such troublemakers. This is horrific. Everybody is disgusted by these outfits. Lakin goes, oh my God, you're going to make fun of them for trying to be my mother's cancerous lungs. My cancer-ridden deathbed mother made these outfits for them and you're going to make them feel bad? You piece of crap. Right, it goes on this like entire thing. Ultimately, the boys end up like winning the like school costume contest. It's a whole entire thing. It's so freaking stupid and I hate everything that happens. In chapter 20, time passes by. Will finishes his internship and he accepts the position at the junior high school to be a teacher there. Eddie continues to help take the boys to school while Lakin takes her mom to these cancer treatments and everything else that is like going on. Julia and Lake, they continue to go over like family finances to ensure that she and her brother are set up for their college tuitions, that they'll be able to maintain like some type of like semblance of living standard. And they both get invited, all of them, I guess, get invited to Will's graduation. And they start debating about like, who's going to show up? Are we all going to go there? What are we going to do? Lake is still so disappointed that Will chose the new school and having a relationship with his brother and all of these other things over her. And her mom is like, hey, he did that so you could spend time with me. Yeah, he chose his brother. Yeah, he left your high school. Yeah, he did X, Y, and Z. It's so that you and I could bond. You and I could spend time together these last few months before I passed away. And Lakin says, oh, yeah, you're right. Oh my God, he's such a good man. And her mom goes, yeah, you guys have done so much. Like, you aren't worrying about your own happiness. You guys should be happy. And gives them the final approval to be together and pursue such a relationship, which is just so stupid and frustrating to me personally, but that's fine, whatever. Chapter 21, the final chapter of the book, when Lakin hears the advice from her mother of, you have to confront him. You have to tell him exactly how you feel. She rushes, right? Lakin rushes to Club 9 to perform spoken word that night to express her feelings. So she rushes in. She interrupts everybody. She says, this is an emergency. She puts the money down to be able to perform. Once again, I turn toward the microphone and I begin to speak. My piece is called Schooled. I say into the microphone, my voice shaking, so I take a few deep breaths. I just hope I can remember it. I rewrote a few lines on the way here. I inhale one last time and I begin. I got schooled this year by everyone, by my little brother, by the Avett brothers, by my mother, my best friend, my teacher, my father, and by a boy. A boy that I am seriously, deeply, madly, incredibly, and undeniably in love with. I got so schooled this year by a 9-year-old. He taught me that it's okay to live life a little backward and how to laugh at what you would think is unlaughable. I got schooled this year by a band. They taught me how to find that feeling of feeling again. They taught me how to decide what to be and go be it. I got schooled this year by a cancer patient. She taught me so much. She's still teaching me so much. She taught me to question, to never regret. She taught me to push my boundaries because that's what they're there for. She told me to find a balance between my head and heart. And then she taught me how. I got schooled this year by a foster kid. She taught me to respect the hand that I was dealt and to be grateful I was even dealt a hand. She taught me that family doesn't have to be blood. Sometimes your family are friends. I got schooled this year by my teacher. He taught me that points are not the point. The point is poetry. I got schooled this year by my father. He taught me that heroes aren't always invincible and that magic is within me. I got schooled this year by a boy. A boy I am seriously, deeply, madly, incredibly, and undeniably in love with. And he taught me the most important thing of all, to put the emphasis on life. I thrust the microphone back into the MC's hands and run off the stage. I look around, but I don't see him anywhere. I look at the booth. We sat in our first date, but it's empty. I realize after standing there, waiting to be swept off my feet, that he's not even here. I spin around in a circle, scanning the room a second time, a third time. He's not here. So she goes to run out of the room, and as she runs out, she's interrupted by somebody who says, "You shouldn't leave before you get your scores." And it's Will. He was the judge. He was at the judge's table. And so she didn't see him because, she didn't look over at the judge's table. For some reason, even though she knew that he's one of the primary judges at these events, it's fine, whatever. He's a judge that night. And so he's like, "Hey, you should go and sit back down." And then he interrupts the whole event and he says, "I have something I need to say. I have something I need to perform." Will brings the microphone to his mouth and smiles at me, and the name of the piece is Better Than Third. He says, I take a few steps back from the stage and he begins. I met a girl, a beautiful girl, and I fell for her. I fell hard. Unfortunately, sometimes life gets in the way. Life definitely got in my way. It got all up in my damn way. Life blocked the door with a smack of the wooden 2x4s nailed together and attached to a 15-inch concrete wall behind a row of solid steel bars bolted to a titanium frame that no matter how hard I shoved against it wouldn't budge. Sometimes life doesn't budge. It just gets all up in your damn way. It blocked my plans, my dreams, my desires, my wishes, my wants, my needs. It blocked out that beautiful girl I fell so hard for. Life tries to tell you what's best for you. What should be the most important to you? What should come first or second or third? I tried so hard to keep it all organized, alphabetized, stacked in chronological order. Everything in its perfect place, its perfect space. I thought that's what life wanted me to do. That is what life needed me for, right? To keep it all in sequence. Sometimes life gets in our way. It gets all up in our damn way, but it doesn't get all up in your damn way because it wants you to give up and let it take control. Life doesn't get up all in your damn way because it just wants you. Wait, hold on. Life doesn't This doesn't make any sense. Life doesn't get up in your damn way because it just wants to hand it all over and be carried along. Life wants you to fight for it, learn how to make it your own. It wants you to grab an axe and hack through the wood. It wants you to get a sledgehammer and break through the concrete. It wants you to grab a torch and burn through the metal and steel until you can reach through it and grab it. Life wants you to grab all the organized and alphabetized, the chronological, the sequenced. It wants you to mix it all together, stir it up, blend it. Life doesn't want you to let it tell you that your little brother should be the only thing that comes first. Life doesn't want you to let it tell you that your career and education should be the only thing that comes in second. And life definitely doesn't want me to just let it tell me that the girl I met, the beautiful, strong, amazing, resilient girl that I fell so hard for, should only come in third. Life knows. Life is trying to tell me that the girl I love, the girl I fell so hard for, there's room to put her first, and I'm putting her first. Will sets the microphone down and jumps off the stage. I've gone so long teaching myself how to let go of him, to break the hold he has on me. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked a damn bit. He takes my face in his hands and wipes my tears away with his thumbs. I love you, Lake. He smiles and presses his forehead against mine. You deserve to come first. Everyone and everything else in the entire room fades. The only sound I hear is the crash of the walls I've built up around me as they crumble to the ground. I love you so much. He brings his lips to mine, and I throw my arms around him and kiss him back. Of course, I kiss him back. And then it goes to the epilogue, in which I will not read. If you've watched any of my videos, I don't believe in epilogues. I think they're stupid. In this one, just in summary though, it cuts to 2 years later, her mom dies. Shocker. Her mom dies within a year, and then it's literally like her, Will, and their little brothers like thriving together and living their best lives. I don't know, man. That's the whole book. It goes into a trilogy. And I know what you're thinking. Kaylee, what could they possibly go into a trilogy about? Apparently in book 2, it's like more and more information about Will's parents dying. It's like more traumatic, I guess, and like whatever than what we're led to believe, maybe, possibly. I don't know, man. I haven't read it. If I do another video in the trilogy, I'll finish like book 2 and book 3 and like combine them in a video. But I honestly, we're gonna derail already. I think in my next video, I want to do another like alien hee hee ha ha romance. I read, what is it? Like my boyfriend is like a alien cowboy. And then I'm like 40% of the way through some merman romance. And then somebody told me, they gave me the heads up, which like, hey, God bless you. I love you so much. It is a story from Rourke's point of view from Morning Glory Farms. It's from the Minotaur's point of view as he like falls in love with Violet. I downloaded it. I haven't read it yet. Like I said, I read The Alien Cowboy. The idea of reading a whole story from Rourke's POV, girl, I'm so excited. I can't explain it. So I think my next poll will be between those 3 books and trying to figure out like what video you guys want next. I have honestly been enjoying paranormal romance so much. I can't even put it into words. It is so funny and fun and goofy and hot and like just a good time. That's the type of stuff I want to put onto YouTube and like out into the universe. I don't want to be this like hateful, judgy, sad person after I read these books. I want to laugh. I want to giggle and crack jokes throughout it. And I want to like leave the situation of like, oh my God, that was actually kind of good though. That's the feeling that I want in this channel. I feel like a lot of dark romance doesn't give me that, and a lot of traditional romance, I don't even get that then either. I'm either traumatized or bored as fuck versus these like crazy paranormal ones where like I'm having a good time. It's funny, it's hot, goofy, and kind of weird, but also like all about consent, which is like the bar is literally in hell for that to be my standard for these books, but it is. And I have not yet thus far read a paranormal relationship that wasn't based on consent, which like, oh my God, right? So I don't know. But I think I might actually genuinely pivot to focusing more on paranormal romances on my channel. So if you made it to this point in my video, and if you have an opinion on that, I would love to hear it. Yeah. Well, would you would you unsubscribe? Would you hate me if I continued to do these silly, goofy paranormals? Or like, are you here because you want me to continue dark romance or tradition? Like, what are you wanting from me, I guess? I'm going to continue every other Monday doing classics because that's a personal thing. But on Thursdays, do you guys care? Are you just here to hear me talk? Or do you care that it's dark or paranormal or traditional or fiction or chick flick lit or whatever the hell it's called? What's good? You tell me what you want to hear. I'm here for the people. I'm just also telling you what I enjoy, I guess. Anyway, okay. I have to go. I have to go to bed. It's 10 o'clock. I will see you in the next one. Comment below of if you care about this pivot to paranormal or what your thoughts are. Make sure you vote in the polls that I post every Thursday. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much. I have the link to my Spotify in the description box below. If you want to be a member and get my every other Monday Kaylee Wannabe podcast videos, and that is also in the description box below. And otherwise, bye.